10. Secrets and Mysteries. Mysterious creatures and beings. Our planet is full of remote and mysterious places, many of which we haven't explored. This raises the question, are there places inhabited by strange creatures we never before believed existed? Here are 10 creatures we may be sharing the Earth with. Perhaps we just haven't discovered them yet, or maybe we don't want to. Chupacabra. It's 1995 and the island of Puerto Rico has been hit by a devastating hurricane. The worst affected areas lie around the city of Canovas. However, its inhabitants are unaware that there's another threat lying in wait. An unknown creature that appeared after the hurricane and killed a number of farm animals. But it didn't just kill them, it sucked all the blood from their bodies. Let me show you. I live right across this little valley. At 3 in the morning, I hear something like, "Aoi, aoi," or something like that. At first, the Chupacabra was only a local myth confined to Puerto Rico, but gradually it spread to Mexico and ultimately to the United States. According to some, it's a small, furry humanoid, while others claim to have seen a large, hairless animal with spikes on its back. Despite, or perhaps because of, these conflicting descriptions, the Chupacabra has been spotted many times. In 2014, it was reportedly killed in Texas. In October 2015, its body was supposedly discovered in Paraguay, and at the beginning of 2016, yet another was allegedly caught in the Philippines. While skeptics argue that the Philippine story was a hoax, locals say the creature was captured alive and taken away by soldiers. So, what is the truth behind the Chupacabra? One theory proposes that it is the result of a military experiment that was carried out at a US base located in the jungle of Puerto Rico. Could this creature have escaped from the base during the hurricane? Journalist Benjamin Radford believes that the vast majority of witnesses are either lying or are mistaken and have seen only a sick animal. Is this the answer to the riddle of the Chupacabra? Or does this creature really exist somewhere? The Loch Ness Monster. Proving the existence of the Loch Ness Monster has been no easy task. Although there are many indications that there really is something unusually large living in the Scottish lake, there is still no hard evidence of its existence. Eyewitness reports date right back to the 6th century. In 565, an unknown Pict warrior was attacked by a creature in the River Ness, which flows out of the lake. Modern sightings began in the 1870s and continue to this day. In 1933, the Scottish hotel manager Aldi Mackay reported that while driving around the lake, she saw a whale-like monster. The publication of her account brought with it a flood of tourists and scholars who continue to investigate the mystery of what may live in those murky depths to this day. Gradually, photos began to appear. The most famous remains the photograph taken by surgeon Robert Wilson in 1934.
If you look at the entire picture, it's obvious that it's a very tiny object. This we knew for years, but we didn't know what the tiny object was.
British university technician Gordon Holmes released a video showing a strange shape moving on the surface of the water. Recently, computer experts examined this video recording and announced that it shows not a monster, but several giant eels. In recent years, the number of photos and videos of the Loch Ness Monster has declined. So, is the monster dead, or did it never exist? Thunderbird. Native Americans have always told stories about giant birds that terrorized entire villages during storms, carrying away children and killing warriors. They were so powerful that their wings made the sound of thunder. Representations of thunderbirds can be found at the top of many totems, and cryptozoologists say that belief in them is so strong it must have some foundation in fact. In 1890, a newspaper article was published about cowboys who shot a giant pterodactyl in the Arizona desert. More sightings have been reported throughout the 20th century, with occasional reports of attacks. In 1972, a girl was abducted from a farm in Rio Grande, supposedly by a thunderbird, and in 1977, in Lawndale, Illinois, a huge bird lifted a 10-year-old boy into the air. But what do these thunderbirds look like? While some speak of a feathered predator reminiscent of an eagle, others talk of a creature similar to a bat. Reports as to its size also vary. While some witnesses claim the thunderbird has a wingspan of up to 10 meters, others swear that it's less than 5. Just as opinions vary on the thunderbird's appearance, there are also conflicting theories about what gave rise to claims of the creature's existence. One theory says that these giant birds are only big eagles. Other hypotheses are bolder, from an ancient natural spirit to a pterodactyl. It seems that until the thunderbird's origins can be agreed upon, we'll never be able to unravel the myth that surrounds it. Angels. Most mysterious creatures belong in the realm of cryptozoology, but this is not the case with angels. Mentions of angels can be found in the oldest religious texts. The Old Testament, for example, accepts their existence as a fact. As God's messengers, they also appear in the Jewish Torah and the Islamic Quran. Probably the best-known image of an angel is a white, luminous being with magnificent wings. A survey by the research agency GfK in the United States found that 77% of American adults believe in angelic beings. Among those who claim to have had an angelic experience are the actor Denzel Washington and Senator Mark Kirk.
Post Leonardo da Vinci, everybody was contemplating the possibility of how an angel can rise to the sky and how it can come down to earth.
Many psychic and esoteric scholars from around the world believe that angels can heal us and help us overcome negative emotions and difficult situations. In one famous case, an American police officer saw a luminous being at the bedside of his dying mother. In another, a woman saw the beautiful glowing figure of a man with outstretched hands just before she was hit by a car. Against all the odds, she survived. In 2013, a Vatican priest put forward an interesting theory. According to him, angels are actually clusters of brightly shining light. And, the theory goes, there will soon be a great battle between light and darkness. The Yeti, or Bigfoot. The hunt for what is perhaps the most famous mythical creature has lasted for hundreds of years. Yeti, which means wild mountain animal in the language of the Sherpa people of the Himalayas, is a creature that's been seen in various forms around the world. Probably the most famous testimony was given in 1986 by the Italian mountaineer Reinhold Messner. While descending through a remote Himalayan gorge, he suddenly heard a strange noise and saw the black outline of a creature covered with thick hair. Messner froze in shock, and the creature disappeared behind the snow-covered rocks. Did Messner encounter an extremely rare Tibetan bear, or was it the Yeti? The number of sightings continues to grow. Not a month goes by without a new report of an encounter, or at least the discovery of strange tracks that do not belong to any known species. In October 2014, traveller Steve Berry photographed giant footprints, possibly belonging to the Yeti, on the slopes of Gangkar Punsum, the highest mountain in the South Asian kingdom of Bhutan.
The first footprint is a right footprint. It's really, really pristine. That's the one that has sort of generated all the excitement.
Reports of Bigfoot in the United States come mostly from Bluff Creek in California. This is also where the famous video of the creature was shot in 1967 by Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin. In the US, the Bigfoot Research Organization has put a great deal of effort into finding the creature, but so far without success. For that reason, skeptics believe Bigfoot is no more than a myth. Are they right? Or do these forests and mountains conceal an unknown creature? Werewolves. Tales about werewolves go back hundreds, even thousands of years, and they've not always been thought of simply as animals we've yet to discover. There has been speculation they might be mutated wolves, or sick or even cursed people. In the Middle Ages, belief in werewolves was widespread. In 1564, residents of the German town of Bedburg found several of their livestock mutilated. Then, children and young women began to disappear, and tales of a wolf-like beast that walked on its hind legs spread throughout the area. It was only tracked down 25 years later. But instead of an animal, the search party found a farmer named Peter Stump with a strip of wolfskin in his hands. Before his execution, he claimed to be a master of black magic, working in league with the devil. In 1603, Jean Grenier went on an eerily similar killing spree in Bordeaux. Some researchers believe that stories about werewolves originate from ancient legends that involved wolves being objects of worship. For example, the ancient Egyptian god of victory, Vepvovit, could change into a wolf. And the Chinese believed that solar eclipses were caused by a huge wolf that eats the sun. Finally, in Norse mythology, the god Odin was accompanied by 2 wolves. According to scientists, werewolves are just people who suffer from clinical lycanthropy. This disease is manifested by seizures and the person's belief that they are a wolf. Other symptoms include making strange noises, confused behavior, and fits of aggression. So are werewolves simply people suffering from this rare disease? If so, then how do we explain the numerous accounts of superhuman strength and physical transformation into wolves? Giant squid. Legends about a giant sea creature that attacks ships and drags their crew into the depths have long been shared among sailors. Some of them refer to the creature as the kraken, others simply as a giant squid. The first recorded description of the creature was given in the 18th century by the Danish bishop and researcher Erik Pontoppidan. According to him, it was so large that it resembled a floating island and was able to drag massive warships to the bottom of the ocean. Pontoppidan's experience was followed by many more observations of the creature. In around 1750, a young kraken was reportedly washed up on the coast near the Norwegian town of Alstahaug. In 1855, a creature over 17 meters long and weighing over 3 tons was seen off the shores of New Zealand. One of the best-known legends, dating from the 18th century, described a fight between a whale and a squid at least 20 meters long. But where could such a creature come from? And how could it remain hidden for so long? One theory is that the kraken comes from the ancient civilization of Atlantis and was used as a weapon, though experts on mysterious creatures do not lend much credence to this claim. Since its body is so big, people thought it must swim rather sluggishly. It has small bubbles of ammonia in its body, so people used to think it floated up through the water using those bubbles and was not very active. We have explored only a tiny portion of our oceans, so it's quite likely that any number of fascinating discoveries and aquatic creatures still await us. Could giant squids be among them? Vampires. Dracula, Buffy, True Blood, Twilight. Almost all of us are familiar with the idea of vampires. Even ancient pagans told stories about vampires. According to legend, they were accursed people or even demons who gained power by sucking human blood. Belief in vampires was so strong among some that they began to hunt them. Probably the most famous vampire hunter was an English reverend and occultist named Montague Summers. He wrote several books on supernatural beings and claimed to have killed a number of vampires himself. It's a common misconception that vampires originate from the Romanian province of Transylvania. In fact, the greatest number of these mysterious creatures have been reported in Serbia. It's there that we find the case of Sava Savanovic, a man accused of vampirism who lived in a mill on the river Rokačić. The most famous vampire, however, is certainly from Transylvania. Here, in the land of impenetrable forests and rugged mountains, ruled the Prince Vlad III of the House of Dracula. The writer Bram Stoker depicted him as a bloodthirsty vampire in his famous novel. The truth is that Dracula was simply a cruel ruler, about whom peasants whispered all sorts of rumours, including that he drank human blood. Today, scientists believe that behind all these legends of vampires may be a medical condition known as porphyria, which makes a person unnaturally pale, vulnerable to sunlight, allergic to garlic, and sometimes causes facial disfigurement. Is the truth really that simple? Or is there something about these stories we've yet to understand? The basilisk. In the past, the basilisk was called the king of snakes. Its hiss could be heard a mile away, and it could break rocks and burn grass to ashes with only its breath. In many cultures, the mythical basilisk was considered to be the most venomous creature in the world, and its gaze was said to have a hypnotic effect. Stories of the basilisk can be found in Greek mythology. Medieval records describe the basilisk as a reptile-bird hybrid, found primarily in the region of modern-day Libya, and born from eggs laid by a cockerel. Many scholars, including the famous Austrian alchemist Paracelsus, believed it was possible to produce a basilisk by means of alchemy. Today, experts on mysteries agree that tales of a creature born from cockerel eggs are probably figments of people's imaginations. Cryptozoologist George Eberhardt, on the other hand, believes that behind the legends there may be a real animal, and points to a case from 1587 when 2 children were killed in an abandoned basement in Warsaw by a creature that was said to be the basilisk. Most often, the basilisk is said to be a snake, perhaps an unknown species of cobra that can spit venom at a distance. Another hypothesis says that behind all the myths are the largest known lizards, the Komodo dragons, who inject a powerful venom into their victims. In the Middle Ages, these and similar stories of extraordinary animals were brought back to Europe by sailors and traders. Could the king of snakes still be hiding in a remote corner of our world? The megalodon. The megalodon lived several million years ago and is thought to have been up to 35 meters long. Paleontologists tell us that this giant shark died out about 1.6 million years ago. However, giant sharks are claimed to exist around the Hawaiian Islands, where they're called nihuo. According to cryptozoologist George Eberhardt, the nihuo is over 10 meters long, with a short neck, a giant dorsal fin, and a whale-like tail. The existence of a giant shark is supported by several accounts. In 1967, off the coast of Cuba, a yacht and its crew went missing. It was later found, with the remains of the body of its captain and with giant tooth marks on its hull. And in 1980, the crew of the Venezuelan ship Venus, while hunting whales, caught a glimpse of a giant shark. In January 2016, a creature resembling a shark over 8 meters long was spotted near Adelaide in Australia. Swimmers saw it about 100 meters from the beach, which was immediately closed. a helicopter flew over the scene where the crew saw the terrifying creature with their own eyes. But eyewitness accounts are not the only evidence. Many researchers also point to the regularly occurring mutilated bodies of whales. Are they proof that in the depths of the ocean there lives a giant prehistoric predator? There are still places on Earth that haven't been explored or even touched by humans. And until they are, we can never truly know whether or not these mysterious creatures are fiction or fact. Top 10 Secrets and Mysteries. Relics of the Saints. They had the ability to bring health and success, but also death and destruction. With these sacred relics, we can travel back through history and explore the religions and cults associated with them. Whether Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism, all religions worship the remains of prophets, beatified figures, and saints. But these are not just the ordinary remains of extraordinary people. The world of sacred relics is surrounded by mystery. We will explore and investigate 10 of the most fascinating relics ever discovered. The Shrine of the Three Kings. Cologne in Germany is home to one of the biggest cathedrals in the world, the Cathedral of St. Peter. This cathedral is surrounded by legend, and it's been said that when the building falls, the world will come to an end. The altar of St. Peter's is decorated by the reliquary of three kings. The reliquary, one of the largest in the Western world, is said to exude a powerful energy and bring people closer to God. The gold-plated chest, made of silver and over 1,000 gems, is believed to hold the remains of the three kings. But who were these venerated men? According to the Gospel of Matthew, they were wise men called magi. These wise men from Persia supposedly knew many secrets and could foretell the future. Do the remains in the reliquary really belong to the three kings? This question was partially answered when the reliquary was opened in 1864. It contained the remains of a young, middle-aged, and an elderly man. This corresponds to the image of the three kings on a mosaic in Ravenna, dating from the 6th century AD. However, the Shrine of the Three Kings is not important because of what it contains, but because of the message it brings. An inspiring, holy tale of three men who gave up everything to go on a pilgrimage, following a shining star to Bethlehem to see Jesus Christ. The tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe was supposedly created after the Virgin Mary appeared to a peasant named Juan Diego in a vision and ordered him to pick roses and bring them to the Bishop of Mexico to prove her existence. When Diego emptied the roses out of his tilma or tunic, an image of the Virgin Mary appeared on the cloth. Inspired by the power of this image, 8 million Aztec people converted to Christianity, seeking a healing connection with God. One American woman was allegedly warned about an illness by the Virgin Mary and managed to recover from cancer by praying to the holy image. Her illness subsequently disappeared, but so did the image. We are very happy to be here to attend the Mass for the Virgin of Guadalupe from Ecuador, and we are devoted to the Virgin of Guadalupe. We're very happy. Within a few years of its creation, several fake versions of the tilma were made. But scientific research has eliminated the possibility that the tilma was restored by painters. The image must have been created all at once. In fact, on close examination, the image looks more like a photograph than a painting. By magnifying the image, researchers also discovered a number of smaller figures hidden in the eyes of the Virgin, perhaps a reflection of the scene of Diego's meeting with the Bishop of Mexico. Scientists and believers were so fascinated by this relic that they even made an ultrasound scan of part of the image, Mary's womb. Incredibly, they are said to have heard the beating of a heart. The Holy Foreskin. The foreskin is a fold of skin covering the glands of the penis, which Abraham, the forefather of the Jewish people, cut off as a sign of the pact between man and God. Jesus himself was said to be circumcised, and today his holy prepuce, or foreskin, is one of the strangest of all holy relics. Foreskin relics began appearing in Europe in the Middle Ages. Many foreskins were claimed to be that of Jesus, giving rise to the myth that Jesus' reproductive organs had the ability to grow back. It also inspired many mysterious cults. For example, in Antwerp, the Order of Jesus Foreskin was founded. This symbol of Jesus' innocence and human nature attracted many to Calcata Vecchia, near Rome, where they prayed to a relic of the foreskin in the belief that they would be miraculously healed. In 1983, this relic mysteriously disappeared, reportedly stolen by a priest. Some also speculate that it was stolen by Satanists, or even by agents of the Vatican. The Vatican had issued an edict in 1900 saying whoever worshipped the holy foreskin would be excommunicated. The reason for this is not clear, but what can be said for certain is that the holy foreskin is a controversial relic, and even inspired David Farley's documentary, The Quest for the Holy Foreskin. If it is indeed a true relic, does that mean that Jesus Christ could now be cloned? The Ark of the Covenant. Fire sprouted from it. It had the power to cleanse and strengthen, or burn and sap energy. If carried in front of an army, it guaranteed victory in every battle. It's not known where this mythical relic is located today, but according to biblical texts, it will one day unleash the apocalypse.
It is still the most holiest and respected object as it is. It is the most precious object in history. It's something that has been used by God for the communication of the people, between his people and himself.
The Ark of the Covenant is purportedly a gold-covered chest containing 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, which Moses received from God on Mount Sinai. Around the year 1000 BC, King David had the Ark moved to Jerusalem. There, the Ark was placed in a specially constructed chamber in the first temple of Jerusalem. Several times throughout history, the Ark was stolen and returned. Did the Ark have the power of recognizing those who were not fit to use it? When the Philistines defeated Israel and acquired the Ark, they were punished by a series of catastrophes. Eventually, they returned it to Israel, but after the Babylonians attacked in the 6th century BC, the Ark was lost. There are several legends as to the Ark's whereabouts. According to some believers in Ethiopia, the Ark was brought to Aksum by Menelik I, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
As a Christian, I'm very happy the Ark of the Covenant is in Aksum. And I'm very proud that I'm part of the population and Christian.
Another version of the legend claims that the Knights Templar brought the Ark to Europe, allegedly to the Rosslyn Chapel near Edinburgh in Scotland, where they also guarded the Holy Grail. It's even been speculated that the Ark was transported from Ethiopia to Israel by the Israeli Secret Service, Mossad. The mystery of the Ark still excites believers, mystical orders, archaeologists, and even filmmakers. In fact, the character Indiana Jones was inspired by a real man named Vendel Jones, an archaeologist who searched for the relic in Israel for 40 years, though without success. But according to the Bible, the Ark of the Covenant will be revealed to mankind on the Day of Judgment. The remains of Mary Magdalene. In 1191, the Bishop Hugh of Lincoln visited Fécamp Abbey in Normandy, France, where the remains of Mary Magdalene were kept. The bishop was so obsessed with the relic that he tried to steal part of it by biting off 2 fingers from the skeleton's hand. Historical sources quote him as saying, "If a little while ago I handled the sacred body of the Lord with my fingers in spite of my unworthiness, why should I not treat the bones of the saints in the same way?"
We can assume easily that the community that goes and follow Jesus sat in this beautiful building together with Miriam Magdalena, and they were studying together, praying together, which is unbelievable.
Mary Magdalene was a devoted follower of Jesus Christ, a penitent who lived to see his resurrection. She turned a new leaf and committed herself to love. It's been said that she preached the gospel in southern France, where angels appeared to her in the Saint-Baume cave. Angels took her to Saint-Maximin-Saint-Baume, where she eventually died. The Abbey of Fécamp, the cave at Saint-Baume, and the church of Saint-Maximin are not the only places that are linked to the worship of Mary Magdalene's relics, but they contain, respectively, her grave, her skull, and her left arm. There's one legend about Dominican monks from Lausanne who were attempting to perform exorcisms. The monk wielding the supposed arm of Mary Magdalene began the process of exorcism when the voice of the devil laughed at the fake remains he was holding aloft. There are also known cases when the veneration of Mary Magdalene's relics did bring success. For example, the inhabitants of the German city of Lübeck allegedly won a battle against the Danish army thanks to the relics. The hand of Mary Magdalene is carefully guarded by the monks of the Greek monastery Semonos Petras, who have witnessed several miracles. By using the relic and holy water, they were able to prevent swarms of locusts and a devastating fire. In 1945, this fire spread to several neighboring monasteries and a nearby forest, but not to the 2 monks wielding the relic. The flames were immediately extinguished when touched by the hand of Mary Magdalene. Buddha's tooth. When Siddhartha Gautama died in 543 BC, his body was cremated in the North Indian town of Kushinagar. All of it, that is, except for the left canine tooth. It's been said that Buddha's tooth has healing powers and can confer the divine right to rule. There are several places that claim to have the tooth. One is the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple in Singapore. The tooth kept in this temple was allegedly found by a Buddhist monk in 1980 in the ruins of a sanctuary in Myanmar. Believers hold the relic in great esteem and collected $45 million American for the construction of this golden palace. Members of the Lu Mountain Temple in North America claim they've been in possession of Buddha's tooth since 2013, when it was given to them by a relic collector. This 2-inch long tooth is roughly 4 times longer than the tooth of an average person. They say it continues to grow, as does its power. Buddha's tooth is supposedly able to heal anyone who believes in its power. If a person's belief is in harmony, the tooth releases a beautiful aroma. Otherwise, it gives off an unpleasant smell.
The tooth symbolizes that the Buddha's teaching is still with us.
But the relic is most often mentioned in connection with the Temple of Buddha's Tooth in Kandy, Sri Lanka. Since the 4th century, the Sri Lankans have believed that this relic can boost one's magical and spiritual energy. The Buddha's Tooth in Kandy has been celebrated in the Perahera festival since the 18th century. During the festival, people come to a chamber that houses a golden container which holds Buddha's tooth and bring offerings of lotus flowers and food. For the people of Sri Lanka, the tooth is a part of their identity. And this was known by the enemies of this Buddhist state. In 1998, the Tamil Tiger separatists placed a bomb in front of the temple. The building was damaged in the subsequent blast, but curiously, the tooth remained unscathed. The Lance of Longinus. The Lance of Longinus is the spear that belonged to the Roman legionnaire Longinus, which, according to the Gospels, he plunged into Jesus Christ, who was nailed to the cross. Several mighty rulers of the world have tried to gain possession of the relic, which is said to have supernatural power. The Roman Emperor Theodosius the Great defeated rebels thanks to the lance, but he died soon after, and the Roman Empire fell with him. The lance was then acquired by the German king Alaric, who captured Rome with its help. After a failed attempt to conquer Sicily, Alaric died. The Frankish king Charlemagne fought one victorious battle after another with the lance and even took it to bed with him every night. When he dropped the lance after one fateful battle, it was a sign that tragedy and death was imminent. Even Adolf Hitler tried to get hold of the lance, which is now in the Hofburg in Vienna. The half-meter-long iron blade was broken in the past and mended with a golden plate. A nail from the cross of Christ was also placed inside the blade. However, many doubt the authenticity of the Lance of Longinus. A scientific examination in 2003 found that the only original material on the lance is the nail. In the past, several relics have been passed off as the Lance of Longinus. One of them is located in Echmiadzin, the ancient capital of Armenia. Church officials do not allow anyone to examine or photograph it. Another theory is that the Americans took it to the Pentagon after the liberation of Austria, leaving behind only a replica. Wherever the Lance of Longinus is, one thing is certain: whoever has it intends to keep it a secret. The remains of St. Peter. The remains of the deceased Pope Pius XI were stored in the catacombs of St. Peter's Basilica. During the excavations of the labyrinth, an ancient burial ground was discovered. 9 meters below the altar, a recess containing the supposed remains of St. Peter, the first pope, was uncovered. For a long time, Pope Pius XII kept the discovery secret. Without the work of the Italian archaeologist Margherita Guarduccia, the relic would not have been linked to St. Peter. On the order of Pius XII, she examined the catacombs. According to Old Chronicle, there's an inscription saying Petros Ani, here lies Peter, on the red wall. However, when Guarduccia examined the wall, she found no inscription. This was just one of the mysteries surrounding the finding. But she made another find, an inscription saying, Peter, pray for the holy Christian men buried near your body. This led to the discovery of a mysterious wooden casket containing the supposed remains of St. Peter. This then became the subject of many scientific inquiries and speculation. In 1968, Pope Paul VI announced that the remains had been conclusively identified. The casket containing the bone fragments was finally displayed in St. Peter's Square in November 2013 by Pope Francis. The Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin is probably the most discussed relic in the world. Allegedly, Jesus Christ himself was wrapped in it after his death. The imprint of a body and several bloody stains are visible on the shroud. Were they really caused by Jesus? No one's been able to say for certain. The linen shroud, more than 4 meters long and 1 meter wide, bears the name of the Italian city in which it has been carefully guarded since 1578. The outline of a human being, which could be seen from a distance of 5 meters, was noticed by the photographer Secondo Pia in 1898. But its origin is surrounded in mystery. Scientists, as well as forgery experts, are baffled by the fact that the imprint is only between 180 and 600 nanometers deep on the surface of the shroud. It also closely resembles the anatomy of a body that has been crucified. The theory that a painter forged the whole work has been rejected outright by scientists. In 1988, radiocarbon dating analysis was carried out on the shroud, showing that it dated from the 13th or 14th century. However, these findings were promptly disputed because the material tested was cut from a repaired portion of the cloth. The shroud, in fact, dates much further back. The Shroud of Turin is still the subject of much debate. But for the Church and believers, what matters most is the spiritual symbolism of the shroud, rather than its material authenticity. The Holy Grail. One legend has it that the Holy Grail is guarded by the wounded Fisher King, who waits for a fearless knight to take up the Grail and thus heal his wound, and with it the whole world. The Holy Grail has fascinated the Knights Templar, King Arthur's retinue, romantic poets, and conspiracy theorists. But what is the Holy Grail's legacy in the 21st century, when knights and their legends are a thing of the past? The Holy Grail is peculiar in that it may not be a material object, but a spiritual idea for mankind. From an esoteric and philosophical standpoint, the Holy Grail could be viewed as a facilitator of truth, leading to the path of wisdom hidden inside all of us. According to the Church, the Holy Grail denotes three separate things: the cup from which Jesus Christ drank during the Last Supper, the reliquary for the Shroud of Turin, or a chalice used during Mass. Christian words about love, Celtic myths about food, healing. Almost every time the Holy Grail is spoken of, paradise is mentioned in the same breath. Many people believe the Holy Grail is not so far away, but lies dormant in all our hearts. Relics are still surrounded by sacred respect, the faith of some and the doubt of others. The next episode of our mystery series will be no exception.